И у нас на самом деле еще один человек из Scaled Agile виртуально с нами присутствует. Его зовут Фила Найта, и он записал приветствие, поскольку он быть здесь не может, но он также готов подключаться, поскольку он также отвечает в том числе и за российский рынок. И я хочу сейчас запустить приветствие, которое он здесь подготовил.
Hello, good evening. My name is Phil. I am Director of EMEA for Scaled Agile. So very warm welcome to you all at this meetup. We're delighted to be part of this event. I'm very grateful to our partner in Russia, Alexei Ionov. Some of you may know that SAFe's been on a very interesting journey since its inception, and certainly over the last 4 years in Europe. And we are now at the point where the Scaled Agile Framework is the most successful Agile at scale framework in the world, with over 20,000 organizations practicing SAFe. But it isn't just about how safe you are, certainly isn't about how many people you've trained. It's about how we help organizations is helping them understand how agile they are as an organization, how much value they're able to deliver and improve delivering to their customers, whether they happen to be internal or external customers. And obviously metrics and measurements play a very important part of that. Of the 20,000 customers we've been working with, certainly over the last couple of years, we've seen a huge amount of interest in gathering the right metrics, what measurements to be made. We've gained quite a lot of insight from working with these clients, and Rune, my colleague, is going to be sharing those with you a little bit later on. So once again, thanks for allowing us to be here, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to share some of this knowledge.
Это было представление Фила Найта. Он, напомню еще раз, он директор в Scaled Agile, отвечающий за регион EMEA. Rune, do you want to somehow comment?
So of course we always trying to optimize and change. So for EMEA, we are a team where we're distributed a little bit. I'm situated in Denmark as an SPCT. I'm covering most of the area as advisor for enterprises and for partners as well. We've just onboarded a new SPC who in turn will take over Southern Europe. I'll continue working on Northern and Eastern Europe. It's going to be my domain. So I will stay with you. And then we have a partner team and sales team that covers the various regions in EMEA. So we are 3 people in Germany. We have Phil covering lots of UK and other places. And then we also have a contact person in the US. So we're a small team, but and covering a big area, but we're very efficient.
Давайте двигаться по нашему протоколу общения. Значит, у нас некоторое количество вопросов было заведено и за которые мы проголосовали. Значит, я вам сейчас могу показать канбан-доску, которую я подготовил. Или я еще раз давайте брошу ссылочку в чат, если кто-то захочет ее посмотреть. У нас вопросы сейчас расставлены примерно так, как за них проголосовали, когда мы собирались на это мероприятие. Напомню, протокол общения Линкофе. Мы сначала формируем бэклог вопросов, дальше мы за эти вопросы голосуем. Первое голосование мы сделали отдельно, можем сейчас переголосовать за эти вопросы, если хотите. Значит, дальше мы устанавливаем время, в течение которого мы обсуждаем каждый из вопросов. И когда это, я прямо в мир здесь буду запускать таймер, когда у нас время истекает, мы, соответственно, голосуем, мы продолжаем обсуждение, либо мы переходим к следующему вопросу, а этот вопрос переносим в дан. Таймер я буду запускать в мира, соответственно, кто хочет за ним следить, можете также на эту доску у себя открыть. К нам присоединился, давайте все-таки дадим пару слов сказать еще Вокеру, который к нам подключился.
Good evening and welcome. Welcome to this meetup organized by Alexei Ionov and presented by my colleague Rune. And I want you that you get all your questions answered and kind of evangelized for SAFe tonight. So we are really excited about this. And again, welcome. Thanks.
Первый вопрос. Как измерить успешность запуска SAFe?
Today, I'll try not to give you the standard consultant answer saying it depends, though a lot of them do, but I won't. I'll try to be very specific on this. So when you come out and you talk to enterprises wanting to start up, whether you are SPC or agile coach or anything, one of the first things you need to do is ask why. Why do you want to do this? Because we can measure so many different things in our everyday life. We can spend all of our time measuring, but we really need to understand what is it that the enterprise hopes to gain. So you need to understand why, and that are so many different reasons that we can do it. So there's 4 things that we certainly focus on. So this is SAFe. Down here, we have this implementation roadmap, which I'm going to come back to a couple of times today. And as you see here, there's this little box here called business results. So these business results are results that we have gotten from companies that have used SAFe. So this is not us inventing it, this is feedback. So there's really 4 things that we can certainly prove that we can improve. So we have time to market. So how fast can we actually get our changes and solutions to market? Improvement of quality, meaning lower defects and more happier customers because we deliver something that works. Productivity, because we're using lean as well. So we're trying to remove waste out of our processes, trying to speed up as well. So be more productive. And then engagement from our employees, because of the way we're working in agile teams, decentralizing decision making and making them more engaged, they will be more satisfied. And we learn from research that more satisfied employees will be more productive. So those 2 are kind of the same thing. The trick is then, how do we measure this? So if you take time to market, how fast can we actually get something out there? There are simple lean metrics that we can use. So just the other day, I had a webinar on value stream mapping. So how long time does it take from an idea at a customer and until we actually have a product in hand? So if you're using Kanbans, you can use measurements, lean metrics for that to see how fast you go through, you improve, and measure you go faster. So simple lean metrics will help you measure your time to market.
But maybe you can give an example, because the term lean metrics does not give the idea of how to measure.
So this example here, this is from a value stream map. So that is the steps that you go through in order to get something to market. And the 2 pieces of information we have here, we have something called process time. I'll apply it in a moment. That's how long time it takes to do something. So how long time does it actually take to deploy to a staging environment? So that's could be hours or minutes or something like that. And then you have something called lead time. Lead time is how long time it takes to do it, plus the waiting time. And it's this waiting time that we're really interested in. You know, why are things waiting? This is waste. This is wasted time. We want to go in and optimize that quite a bit. So an example I used from my earlier career. See if I have it in here actually. So this is an example from when I was working at a company producing mobile phones. They are no longer producing mobile phones. They are no longer in business. So that's what happens when you don't optimize. So you can see this little flow here was like, we defined a feature, we developed it, we did some smoke tests, we did some merging to the product line, we did some more smoke tests, we did to staging. So all of these steps were steps that they went through in this product line here. Now, the time to market would be from the moment the customer gives an idea. You know, they want to have, if you remember that snake game that was in the previous days, well, they wanted a snake version 2. So they came up with this idea, told our product management, they defined it, we developed it, we tested it, we integrated it, we went through all of the steps. And once the customer had the phone in hand with the new Snake game, that's when it's released. So the time from here to time to the end, we can measure that. And then we can see, are we satisfied? Are we satisfied with how long time it takes? Can we optimize this process? And in this specific case, what happened was developers did the development. They did a smoke test on the software. We merged it in with all of the different work the developers did, and then we smoke tested it again. This team that was integrating it, that was a separate team. So there was a handover from development to integration and testing and to release. So we found out that that was actually waste. There was waste handing over so many times. It was waste doing smoke test twice. So we stopped having the integration team. We moved the work of integrating software to the development team so they could merge directly and do a smoke test. And that way we cut out the integration and the smoke test part, and thereby we optimized our time to market. So by measuring from going from A to B and all the steps in between, that's how we can very practically go in and say, okay, is there anything here that makes sense to optimize? So that's time to market metric as an example. I can put another example, very relevant. So quality, again, that's for the same company. We were shipping, the product line we were shipping had 115 million mobile phones out in the field. If we had one customer defect, we knew that about 3% of the customers having that defect would come back and ask for new software to fix the defect. We were paying a middle company money to reflash those mobile phones. So they cost us money to fix defects by having people come in. So every time we had one defect in production, that cost us X million dollars to do. So it was very easy for us to say, if we can spend more time improving quality in our teams, reducing those number of production defects, we could save X amount of million. So because we had a very good understanding of how much a defect cost in the field, we could find out how much it was cost to invest in our quality process, and thereby we could save money for ourselves in the long run by investing in quality. So measuring production defects and understanding the cost of production defects, both to redo it, maybe also to your brand value, that's another metric you can do. And engagement is something I've done in all of the Agile release train I've been working. I have what we call employee survey. Very, very simple. One question for people. The question was, would you, from a scale from 1 to 10, would you recommend somebody outside the company to work here? So the way that works is that if you have, like, I think it was 8, 9, or 10, that's what we call a positive indicator. We really want to know if people are happy to have some of their friends work here. We assume they're happy. If they don't, well, we need to go and fix that. So we went and did that, and we ended up at 6.5. And then we started initiative, is it because you need to work too much? Is it because you don't have control over what you're doing? Is it because project managers are coming to inject work all the time? Then you can start to act on these things. So, but that's a simple employee happiness score, if you will, that you can go and do. And I've used all the 3 of them in my career. So again, it depends on why you want to do it, but certainly for these 4 results here, we have metrics that we apply, and we apply them, well, in practically all the transformations that we have.
Скажу, то есть идея в том, что с точки зрения измерения успешность запуска SAFe, да, сам SAFe предлагает вам померить как минимум вот эти 4 метрики, и Руне привел из его практики, соответственно, варианты, да, как он это делал. И это позволит вам как раз понять, да, вы приближаетесь к бизнес-результатам, которых достигает большинство компаний, или не очень. Учитывая то, что время истекло, я запустил опрос. Если нам нужно дальше продолжить обсуждение, нажмите на «Давайте еще пообщаемся». У вас сейчас в Zoom возник опрос.
So the result is
we're moving to the next one. So
okay.
The next question is what is the minimal requirements for successfully launching a Scaled Agile Framework?
So that's going to be a two-part answer. So SAFe is a scaling framework. So if you're just having one or two teams, three teams working together, you don't need to use SAFe. I mean, this is a framework that's built up for handling multiple teams working together on building a solution. So if your organization is too small and you start this up, you won't get that much of a value out of it because people can just talk together. But when you start ending up in the 50 plus people working together, that's where you consider, okay, we might have a scaling communication issue. That's why you want to apply SAFe, just to make sure that you don't do it too early. Otherwise, use Scrum, use Kanban instead. So successfully launching it is, you need to have what we call an agile release train. And an agile release train is this virtual construct of about 5 to 12 teams and 50 to 125 people. So if you want to be successful, well, you kind of need that for a start. Otherwise, you're going to be too small. On the other hand, you don't want to put 300 people into an agile release train because that's going to be too many people. Collaboration is going to be hard. There's too many communication channels. So your first step when you're launching agile release trains is really keeping them at the right size, the recommended size, and not going either too high or too low for that. So that's one thing. Another thing, and
just to emphasize, the minimal. I mean, the minimal amount of people or team. What is your number?
Yeah. So I have launched a lot of trains. Most trains 50 to 125 people. I also launched a train that started up with 3 teams, 35 people. But that was because they knew over half a year they were going to scale up to 70 people. So they wanted to start up knowing and getting to know SAFe because they knew in 6 months there would be 80 people. So that would make a smooth transition for them. So I said, okay, sure, we can do that and get to know that. So but the limit on the paper is 50 to 125. So do you start up an agile release train with 49 people? Sure, you can do that. You know, it's not a hard limit. It's not that easy. It's a framework. You actually need to go in and apply common sense, understand how you can do this and learn from other people. So the 50 to 125 is a good guideline to do that for a beginning. But, you know, there are exceptions, of course. If you want a really successful transformation, some of the things that we emphasize a lot, both in our leading SAFe classes and for our implementing SAFe classes, is that you need to have buy-in, you need to have support from leadership. If you don't have leadership in there to sponsor it, you're not going to go very far. Because some of the things you need to change in your organization, like decentralizing information and execution down to the team, well, suddenly you have a shift of power to the teams. That doesn't happen by itself. You need somebody to help you do that, and you need to educate those people. So having executive and sponsor support who understands how the new way of working is crucial, absolutely crucial. I've seen transformations without leadership buy-in, and you only get this far. Then you still have project managers, you still have projects going on. And what you get is you're getting SAFe, but you're not getting the value of SAFe because you can't remove all of the old stuff that was really making you slow and starting to transform to new stuff. So an agile release train, check. Leadership support, check. Train people. We used to have a phrase that train everyone, meaning that this is a new way of working. So should the Scrum Masters be trained on how to work in SAFe? Absolutely. Should developers be trained how to work together in your teams? Absolutely. Same with product owners, product managers. But the SPCs who are going to help, how can you guide? How can you lead something that you don't know anything about? So training is something that we've seen that the companies who are successful and get the business results faster are the ones that invest in training the people who are both in the agile release train and supporting it in the organization. So training, absolutely crucial. And well, I could probably go on, but I'll mention another one, especially now that we have Alexei in here. Starting up an agile release train and a transformation is hard. And the first time you do it, we always highly recommend that you get some of our partners to come and help you, who have experiences this, they tried this before, they know how to prepare properly for the first startup of the agile release train. So getting somebody with experience into a transformation helping you start up is, well, are you going to make it without it? Yeah, you may. Will you get the results just as fast? No, you won't. So get help, at least in the beginning. And then, of course, as you get better, you take back some of these responsibilities, you train your own SPCs, you start training internal in the company, and you get help for some of our partners in the beginning, and maybe as you need to accelerate your journey. So I think I'll stick with those 4 answers for now. Maybe there's some additional questions.
Друзья, уточнения, может быть, какие-то от вас? У нас еще 3 с небольшим минуты есть на этот вопрос. То есть мы говорим про поддержку руководства, мы говорим про обучение, мы говорим про поддержку кого-то, у кого есть опыт в лице партнера опытного. What was the 4th one? Management, training, someone who did this before, like a partner, and the 4th?
Well, you need to have an agile release train of a certain size. So
okay, so the size, the 4th is the size of the train itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So otherwise, I mean, if the size is wrong, either you don't need SAFe, or it's not going to help you if you're. I have seen an agile release train with 300 people and 25 teams. Doesn't work. Too many people, too much collaboration, then you need more agile release trains. So finding the right size for that is important. And again, people with experience can help you, guide you on that. Our rule of thumb, 50 to 125.
Fantastic. I suppose we're done with these questions. Друзья, если какие-то есть уточнения, то, пожалуйста, напишите, либо озвучьте их, в смысле дополнительные какие-то вещи, которые вы хотите узнать вокруг минимальных требований для успешного запуска SAFe. I suppose we are done with these questions, with this question, because I don't see any additional, any additional questions around this topic. So I'll just move this to done. And our favorite question regarding what is the difference between an agile coach and an SPC. There is a recording, but let's again answer and maybe get some more clearance on this one. То есть вопрос, мы его обсуждали у нас на прошлом митапе, как раз Руне на него отвечал, но давайте еще раз, коли этот вопрос был озвучен, за него много из вас проголосовали, давайте попробуем все-таки разобраться, в чем разница между agile коучем и SPC дубль 2.
So again, I think I get this question every single meetup I'm at, and I'm changing my answer all the time. An agile coach, well, an agile coach is not a protected title, just like a doctor. You know, everybody can call themselves an agile coach. That's pretty easy. An SPC, well, an SPC is someone who have attended an implementing SAFe class for 4 days and passed the exam. So that's the boring answer, really, but it's also a little bit important. So an SPC is somebody who's been through the implementing SAFe core class. They've passed the exam, so we know that they have the knowledge of SAFe in order to help and start up with a transformation. Having the knowledge doesn't necessarily give them the experience. but you're still an SPC, whether you've been an SPC the day after the exam or you're an SPC after 10 years, you're still just an SPC, but the experience is varying quite a lot. But an SPC, that's something to do with SAFe. Are you an agile coach because you're an SPC? Not necessarily. So SPC stands for SAFe Program Consultant. So you consult in how to use SAFe and come and help that. So a coach, as I see it, a coach can be an SPC too, but you need some other skills that we don't necessarily teach in the SPC class. Coaching is not something that we teach as such. That's another discipline that you need to go, the ability to ask powerful questions, the ability to be patient and not give directions in that end. So coaching is just a different thing. The fun thing about, so I've been to some coaching classes as well. Coaching is supposed to be neutral, and you're supposed to help the person solve their own problem. Now, you put the word agile in front of it, you're kind of cheating a little bit because you're coaching to be agile. So you're already putting a bit of emphasis on that. But an agile coach, not a protected title. You can do SAFe, Scrum, Kanban, less, Scrum at scale, anything, and it's not protected. SPC is a protected title in the sense that you need to pass a 4-day class, really. That's the down spot, but it won't tell you the level of an experience that you have. Only that you are having enough knowledge based on the class that you just been to.
As I sometimes put it, the certificate is the invitation to continue the discussion. So it's not the guarantee, but it is the prerequisite to have the discussion regarding the implementation of whatever approach or framework or knowledge.
Yeah.
So this is a sort of a guarantee that there is some knowledge within this person who has this certificate.
Yeah. So I'd like to think I was an agile coach before I became SPC, and then I became SPC, and I learned more about agile, and then I became a better agile coach because suddenly I knew more.
Друзья, как вам такой ответ? Уточнение, несогласие, возражение? Fine. Хорошо. Так, а если fine, тогда, наверное, с этим вопросом тоже все. I suppose we are through with this question as well. And we move this to...
Maybe I should make a blog about that someday, about the SPC and the agile coach, and see if I get into trouble for
There
that.
is an interest on the topic, so maybe you should.
I know. I will make a note of it, I promise.
Why SAFe? Next question is, why SAFe?
Okay, so hopefully I answered some of the questions in the scaling part. So I would say, why not SAFe? I say, if you don't need to scale, don't use SAFe. So that's, you're just gonna have too much overhead and too much expenses with extra people in there. So that's why not SAFe. So why SAFe? Many different answers. So first of all, for those, SAFe is the leading scaling framework. We have just about, the last time I checked, 700,000 trained people across the world. We are in 20,000 different businesses across 110 countries in the world. So this is, we are in the top quadrant of the Gartner. So we are the preferred place to go, where people, they get a SAFe training. People will know you. You will see as you go around, people are asking for those knowledge and certifications that are coming from this. So it's a known framework, and we are growing very, very fast for the time being. So that's one reason. Personally, it's gonna be hard for me to say because it's the best. And why is it that? Well, because I'm not trained in less. I'm not trained in Scrum at Scale, and I'm not trained in Nexus. And I do not spend my time comparing the frameworks. The reason I particularly like to use SAFe is this whole notion of organizing around value. This being focused on when we have ideas, when we have features that are coming from a customer, We want to understand the journey this feature takes throughout our enterprise until it gets to production. And for those companies, and for those of you who've been working in functional silos, in project organizations, you know that all this handoff work from one part to the next part, to the next part, to the next part, it just takes time, it creates waste, it creates confusion because of the handoff. So because we're so focused on organizing around value, I think that's definitely a huge advantage of SAFe. Another thing, I'm going to be careful saying it's unique because, again, I'm not reading too much on the other frameworks that's out there. But since September 2019, when we released SAFe 5.0, we really shifted. So we don't only focus on IT. It's still a major part of SAFe, of course. We are still heavily involved in how to optimize the way we do IT development. But we upgraded ourselves to business agility. There was a huge pull from the market to say, how can we take this beyond IT? How can we help our marketing become more agile? How can we help sales become agile? How can we help departments, legal, outside our agile release train be more agile and interact better with our agile release train? So this business agility was a huge pull from the market. And we released that back in September 19, and we've been adding articles and guidance on this. And I really think this is one of the extremely strong suits. It makes the framework larger, true, but it also makes it more inclusive of the rest of the businesses that we're working with. So I'll say that's definitely one of the reasons I would choose it, because we can take SAFe to the entire business. So that's 3 points. I could probably add more, but maybe there's some questions for that part.
I have added 2 more questions to our backlog. I don't think it is not directly connected to this current question, so I think we'll cover them later. Друзья, уточнение к этому вопросу, потому что я 2 вопроса еще добавил. Я думаю, что у нас есть все шансы на них тоже ответить, которые мне пришли в чате. По этому вопросу, вот по поводу почему SAFe, то есть вот какие-то у вас, может быть, еще есть уточняющие моменты, которые вы бы хотели, чтобы коллеги озвучили. Success with the question. So I'm stopping the timer, moving this to done. And the next question is, what do one have to do to become a successful SPC?
I'm so happy the question includes successful, because become an SPC, take the class, pass the exam, you're SPC. So that's really where the hard part begins, because to be a successful SPC, what you really need to do is you need to make the enterprise you're working with successful. That's how you become successful. That is, understand what pains they're in, why do they want to improve, and help them get to those business results that I showed you earlier. So that sounds easy, and it just isn't. It's actually really, really hard. And let me actually show you why. So I'm going to steal the screen again. This little picture here shows our way of helping enterprises transform into successful SAFe enterprises. We spent 2 entire days in the implementing class going through all of these steps, because that is really your job as an SPC, understanding how can you make successful implementations. And it sounded easy when I said it, so let me just pinpoint some of the problems that you may encounter here. So we have this place out here on the left called, well, it's really before you're SAFe. Maybe your organization is using waterfall. Maybe they are having some Scrum teams. They're having trouble collaborating. And at this point, you may have a decision, should we go SAFe or should we not go SAFe? Maybe you're an SPC, maybe you can help your enterprise, but how do you do this? How do you actually have a discussion with management, with leadership about selecting SAFe. You know, you're going to have to pitch that. So unless the company actually made that decision, you will need to do that. You will need to consult and coach. And we give you some exercises in the implementing class on how to do that, how to convince your leadership to do this. But convincing leadership, that's not easy. So let's just assume that you convinced leadership about this. Then you need to convince them that the way they have organized today, maybe in functional silos, maybe in some teams that are not really optimal, and you need to help them reorganize into this virtual structure. Well, that's not easy either. You're suddenly telling people who've been trusting in this structure they had, maybe you have leaders who have dependent their entire career on being the boss of this and this department. And now you're suddenly telling them, well, you can keep the departments, but all the people, we're going to put those into some virtual teams. And by the way, they have to decide themselves what to do. So suddenly you have a lot of leaders and managers in the middle layer of the organization that you need to talk to, that you need to help convince, first of all, to do this. Second of all, what are they going to do? If they spend a lot of their time before instructing people what to do, and now people have to do that themselves, how are you going to coach that? So for those of you who are agile coaches, who knows coaching, this is not an easy thing, helping people reorganize. So that's a huge step in itself. Then you may recall that I said, you know, one of the success criteria is actually getting people trained. So we're selling all the licenses to the material, and that's our way of making money. I mean, we're an enterprise as well, but you need to convince that it's actually a good idea that people know what they're doing, meaning taking the classes. You need to train some of the leaders in the agile release train. You need to train the product owners, the scrum masters, the architects, all of the developers and testers in there. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of time. How are you going to convince that that's a good idea? What's the payback for that? You know, going out, finding reference stories from other companies, telling them about that. But being successful SPC is being successful in helping leadership understand that this is a necessary thing to do. And then as your organization becomes more mature, maybe after a year, maybe after a year and a half, maybe you're launching more agile release trains. They're ending up down here in this part where it says launch more arts. And right after that, we have something called extend to the portfolio. So I talked about agile release trains and teams. Once you have more and more of these, you may want to use what we call the portfolio layer. How are you going to persuade your product management organization, your PMO, your leadership, your finance, that instead of doing projects and funding projects, now you're going to be funding value streams and agile release trains. You're not going to be using projects anymore. You'll be using epics. Your metrics are going to change. I mean, that's a whole different discussion. Maybe you're talking about agile and lean to teams and the arts. Now you need to talk to finance about CAPEX, about using financing, about changing metrics for the organization. That's what makes you a successful SPC, to actually hang in there and stick to this roadmap that we have tested for just about, well, I'm just trying to count here, a better part of 10 years, and showing again and again that those organizations that successfully follow the roadmap will get to the business results faster. So that will make you a successful SPC, not passing the exam. That's just the start of the journey here. Getting the companies on the journey, helping, understanding, coaching, that's going to make you a successful SPC.
So in short, business results is the indicator of being a successful SPC.
That's definitely a good indicator. Thank you for elaborating on that. That was a good one.
Thank you. So SPC needs to be involved in the process. Yes, maybe some specifics about what process do you have in mind regarding this note?
I think I might. Yeah, I'm just thinking. So your part as an SPC, one, talking to leaders, coaching leaders. All the training courses you see here, you are going to teach that. Once you become an SPC, you are allowed to teach all but 2 courses. There are 2 courses you are not allowed to teach. You can't teach implementing SAFe. That's how you turn an SPC. You can't do that. Only SPCTs can do that. And the other class you just can't train out of the box is, I'm going to zoom in on that one, is the RTE class, the Release Train Engineer. That's kind of the over Scrum Master for the Agile Release Train. That has some special requirements. But all the other classes you can enable yourself to teach. So that is your job. Coaching leaders, coaching and consulting people, coaching teams, training people in all the various courses in here. We're having this little organization here called the Lean Agile Center of Excellence. That's a group of people who are driving the transformation, that is understanding what are you going to do next, who are you going to help. SPCs are in here helping. You help transform, you help your PMO transform into a more lean way. The SPC is in this because you have learned the knowledge in here and you have continued your learning journey. So that's how you help. You are all over the place here.
Да. Thank you. То есть вы, ну, SPC, если вы станете SPC, да, вы везде, да, то есть вы можете быть во всем этом процессе, вот во всей этой карте запуска SAFe, которую сейчас Руна озвучил. Друзья, еще какие-то уточнения к этому вопросу есть? Вроде бы нету. Okay, I don't see any more additional questions regarding this topic.
That's okay.
So I'm stopping the timer. This might be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I kind of guess what that is.
Yes, yes. Any news about the next version of SAFe you can share?
I can share that it will be shared very soon.
Okay. Any guesstimate for how soon it will be?
It's going to be soon.
Maybe released on the 10th of February.
Okay, so it's very soon.
It is very soon.
It is very soon. So let's say very soon instead of just soon.
Yeah, but you know what? That's you know, time is such a perception. You know, very soon could be half a year if you're talking about Corona. So,
yeah. Well, in project management, people are saying that the first 90% of the project is not as difficult as the second 90% of the project. So, you know.
No, but you're right. So the 10th of February, it will be released. We have some very, very interesting topics in there. I promise you.
Phil is joining us. That's interesting.
Hello.
I've played your intro at the beginning, so people do know who are you. But if you want to say a few words live here, please do.
Yeah, not prepared, but yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Phil. As you saw from the video, Fila Найта is the full name. I run EMEA. We've got a team here in EMEA to support all of our customers, all of our partners. And for us, it's all about making you successful, whatever that looks like. We want to make, we just want the world to be a better place when it comes to delivering value to your customers. Yes, we make our money from training, and that's great. But it's really about how do we help you? And that's why we're here, and that's why we do things like this. And like I said on the video, thank you very much for allowing us to speak.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move to the next question then.
Let's do that.
We have done this one. Let me stop the timer. And we have a very exact question. How to, maybe you can also give some general ideas, because I've seen some clients struggling with, not suffering, but struggling with this topic. How to identify value streams in e-commerce. But from my experience, I see that's a problem in general. I mean, how to distinguish what is a piece of value to define the value stream. That is, from my experience, is always a huge question. So, please.
Okay, so I'll tell you something without telling you. since I'll just reflect back to the other question. So in the coming release, we're going to give some more insights into value streams. I can't tell you what, because I can't talk about the content, but there's going to be some more stuff about here. So there's much more to read and understand in 5.1 than what we have today. So there's definitely something to look forward to. So back to the specific question, how do we, could you just repeat it again? I just want to make sure I get it right.
The question was how to correctly define value streams in e-commerce, but I would add it in maybe any other business as well. We have the whole business creating something, but we need to split it into several value streams. Where would to draw those borders between the value streams?
That's a good question. Let me see if I have something I can illustrate that with that usually makes more sense. So I'll be showing parts of the implementing SAFe class. So for those of you who are interested, you'll be seeing much more of that. So is my screen showing?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, the whole exercise, the whole discipline around organizing around value is hard. It's probably one of the hardest areas that we have. And it's one of those things that we recommend. You're not going to get it right the first time. This is one place where you need to go back after you've organized your agile release trains and your teams and find out what have you learned from that organization. Have we really organized right? Do we need to change that? And as I see it, this is one of the real strengths of working with agile release trains and teams, because they're supposed to be a dynamic structure. Of course, you don't reorganize your teams all the time, because you know the longer time you keep your teams together, the better they become, the more efficient they become, the better they get to know each other. But how you organize them exactly in your agile release training or development stream is something you can and something you should consider changing as you get smarter. That's simply just agile learning from the feedback. So there is no perfect answer for that. The perfect answer is you need to adjust. So what am I getting at here? First of all, and this is something, of course, we'll spend much more time on in the implementing class, is understanding that SAFe is really talking about two different kinds of value streams. We're talking about something called operational value streams. The operational value streams, in this case, the example here is from a hospital, is how your company make money. You know, what are the services you sell? What are the products that you sell? Are you selling software? Are you selling some specific service? Are you selling cloud services? Or in this case, are you selling the ability to actually cure people in a hospital? So the example.
But normally, normally here I get a question. Okay, but is one product is an operational value stream? Is just one service is an operational value stream, or how do you put it?
Well, so the operational value streams, I'm sorry to say, so if it's software we produce, so for example, if we're producing Microsoft Office in its sense, then producing it is reading and selling it, that's part of your operational value stream. But we typically see these are two things. So the operational value stream, that's how you make money. The development value streams, that is the focus of SAFe. So when you see a value stream in SAFe, we're talking about development value streams. We're mentioning the other ones, but we're focusing on these because this is what we want to organize. So you say we organize those around the systems that support the operational value streams. So if you have a hospital, I mean, you're going to have some hospital systems that register people coming in. You're having some maybe electronic patient journals where you take your rounds. Maybe you have a billing system that you send the bills to. You know, this is an American example where you send bills out. So those systems that support that we can actually make money in the first place, that's what we organize around.
Ron, sorry, just maybe because I believe that the question was a little bit different.
Okay.
We're talking about how to distinguish between different operational value streams within the company, because there is no such thing as operational value stream in the first place in the company. And how do we divide our business into several operational value streams to then build development value streams?
Okay.
That's the most common question, at least I get.
Yeah, I'm probably going to disappoint you. All companies have operational value streams. Otherwise you don't make money. You may not have defined them, but you have them. So simple ways to look at it is when you go into a company's homepage, they usually have like our solutions, our products, our services. When you go and click on that link, you'll see all the different services and solutions they are selling. Each of these is typically an operational value stream. It's one way the company is making money. Whether it's selling something, it's giving some kind of service, that's an operational value stream. So your company is most probably, for the bigger companies we're working with, that's many different value streams. So let me see if I can find, I think I have another example here. See if I can find it handy. I can't teach you everything, but I can at least show you some examples.
Yes, this one.
This one is good. So this is a bank. This is a bank here. The green arrows you see in the bottom are operational value streams. So in this case, this bank is making money in certain services. They have credit card services. They are selling out and billing and earning money from credit cards. So getting those credit cards from the customer request, processing them through our system, and actually getting to the customer, that's one operational value stream. The case example we use throughout the class, loans, in this case, consumer loans, getting loans to people. Taking a request, I have a need for a loan, I need to buy a house, and until they get the money and we get the interest back. That's an operational value stream. And then you have corporate banking in the corporate area. They're lending out cash. They are doing trading of stocks. That's operational value streams as well. And capital markets. You have insurance companies. They're selling insurances.
Initial question was, sorry to interrupt you. Initial question was about e-commerce. Do you have any ideas about e-commerce?
Yeah, so can you give me an example of an e-commerce? That's going to make it so much easier for me.
The company which sells goods online.
Yeah, so like food?
Any goods,
okay.
any kind of goods. Just online sales, like an online shop to sell various goods. Maybe specific goods for some area, maybe more generic. Yeah. Okay,
so let's say that they sell food for people, right? So selling food to an end consumer, that's something that started here in Denmark some years ago. You go on a website, you order all the food, your milk, your bread, your fish, and they take you through an ordering system, and then you pay for it, and then you ship it, and then it arrives at the customer. That's an operational value stream. You're getting a request, some food you need to buy, you're processing it, you're delivering it to the end customer, you're getting money for the food, they're getting the food. That's an operational value stream. That would be an example.
So basically just one operational value stream for the whole reselling process.
Yeah. So again, what you have, it's an oversimplification. I mean, this part of the class takes a couple of hours to go through, and it's just scraping the surface. An operational value stream could be ordering a car. You need to have a new car. As you know today, that's handling through just in time. So you order a car. That order is going to the car factory. They will start to produce the car with your colors, your interior. It will get finalized. It will get shipped to you. You pay them. You get the car. That's an operational value stream as well.
So basically, per product or per product type or per market type, and I also see a note here, any functional area can be defined as a value stream.
What do you mean by functional area?
Ordering, shipping.
I'll just add on top of you, say, value streams are difficult. We spend a lot of time on it, on implementing. We spend a lot of time on it afterwards. And this is especially a place where when you start your SAFe transformation, you want to get experienced help. This is how you organize. This is the hard part, and it is hard.
And just to add to that, there are a lot of organizations that are trying to implement this. Some have they're a long way on their journey, and they're implementing this. And a question that we often get asked, or a request that's often made of us, is, can we speak to one of these other companies that's doing that? And the answer is yes. If we maybe we have to put a webinar together with an organization that's done it and talk about their journey. But as Rune quite rightly says, it's hard. It's really hard. But you're not alone if you're struggling with it.
Okay, Phil, just one more thing, because I think it does make sense to comment on what was put into the chat box, because ordering and shipping separately, can they be a separate value streams or not?
No, they can't.
Why so?
The value stream is about taking an order, processing it, and getting money. If you're only having ordering, you're not getting your money. You're only getting half your value stream. So the value stream is about generating value. And ordering something is not going to give you value. Actually selling it, getting money to the company, value to company, getting whatever service you're selling to the customer, value to customer. So you can't just split it up like that. It is an entire flow from the beginning to the end.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was expecting to hear. Андрей, то есть еще раз, нельзя по вертикалям процесса бить, да, там надо целиком, чтобы весь поток был. Окей, друзья, давайте, значит, попробую я запустить, вот запускаю сейчас, так, продолжить. Пожалуйста, проголосуйте, двигаемся к следующему вопросу или продолжаем про value stream говорить.
And again, while you're voting, this is one of the areas that we have been asked to add much more guidance on. So that's coming. Many more great examples and ideas how to do that, and workshops and toolkits is going to come in the future.
Fantastic. Because I really do see that companies struggle with niche, not with the development, but how to understand and how to sell the concept of operational value streams to be defined in the company. That's very common.
They are already there.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're not making money.
Exactly. Друзья, все, я надеюсь, проголосовали. Давайте сейчас завершу опрос.
I can also see in your chat, the only reason I can see it is because I'm trying to look at the English ones, that maybe you could do it as a separate meetup. Certainly after the 10th of February, that could be a very interesting meetup.
Yeah.
Actually, let's do it. Why not? We can really decide right now to have a meetup on that, because that's a very hot topic. Even now, without those additions, it's I think
it's going to be more fun later when I have more material I can show you.
That would be fantastic. Супер, друзья, мы сейчас с вами договорились о еще одной важной теме метапа. Я ее всецело поддерживаю, потому что реально вот с каждой компанией, с которой взаимодействуешь, всегда начинается, как нам определить наши операционные value стримы и что это. И да, давайте это обсудим. И после того, как выйдет обновление, потому что там действительно будет много всего интересного. Ну, немного, но достаточно полезного, скажем так. Значит, следующий вопрос. The next question is a little bit.
I can see it.
Well, it's. I think it's about understanding the difference, and maybe that's a good place to explain whether there is any difference. So, goal setting, peer objectives, and iteration goals. Comparing to Scrum with just one sprint goal, how to move from the tasks into objectives or outcomes when we talk about teams.
I've worked with Scrum for many years. I'll take there's probably some Scrum Masters in here. So is it like comparing the sprint goals to the PI objectives? Is that it?
But Scrum is just one goal for the sprint, and we want to move from tasks to the higher level objectives and outcomes. And how do we do that in SAFe? Or whether there is difference with Scrum, if any?
Yeah. So I know I haven't had the time to read the new. I'm really sorry. I haven't had the time to read the new Scrum guide lately. So my knowledge is based on the old one. Yeah, I know. I'm busy. So that's how it is. I will. So all the places I've been, whether they were using SAFe or not, I've rarely seen a team come up with one sprint goal. They usually come up with multiple. So whether that's right or not, I'll leave that to some super highly advanced Scrum Master. But that's generally what I see. So PI objectives and sprint goals are very similar. You know, they are an expression of a goal that the team should be able to achieve. It's described in a clear, preferably business language, so that it's understandable both for the business what we're trying to achieve, and it's understandable for the team what we're trying to achieve. So I think there we're pretty similar. What's a bit different is the time box for it. So the sprint goal obviously is your objective for the sprint, whether that's up to 30 days. I hope that's still the case. That's your sprint. That's your sprint goal. No longer than that. The PI objective, well, the PI stands for program increment. That's the cadence that the Agile release train works in, and that could be, well, it can be as long as you want to, but our guidance is 8 to 12 weeks. And you set these PI objectives at your PI planning, and they actually cover the entire PI. So a PI objective is an objective that you need to fulfill within that PI, so 8 to 12 weeks. So as such, they are probably a bit larger compared to your sprint goals, simply because the time box is larger. Otherwise, I usually like to explain when I teach implementing SAFe or other classes that they are very similar. I use them in a very similar manner. There are some small nuances that we use it differently. We have what we call committed and uncommitted objectives. Committed objectives are things that the team believes and have a high confidence in that they will be able to make during the PI. And uncommitted objectives are objectives that the team has time for. So it's not something extra just if we work 20% extra. That's not how it works. They need to have time for it. But it's associated with risk or a high level of dependencies, either inside or outside the Agile release trains, that they don't want to commit to it. They have the time, but there's so much insecurity they don't commit to it. So we actually separate that into committed and uncommitted objectives. Sprint goals doesn't have that. That's really what you commit to for your sprint. I think that's the simplest explanation, but it really isn't that different. The teams will usually in SAFe create so in SAFe it's called iterations and not sprints. So the teams create iteration goals that they need to meet in the iteration, and they are usually fragments of the PI objectives, because you need to like slowly step your way through and get closer to your objective to that end. So not much of a difference. We just have some little bit extra definitions that we use it for.
We have just another comment. What difference SAFe Essential? What are differences between SAFe Essential and Scrum Plus? Scrum of Scrums. I suppose this is original Scrum of Scrums, which was developed way back.
And my completely honest answer is I don't know. I never worked in Scrum of Scrums. I've worked in regular Scrum, and I've worked in SAFe. I haven't had the opportunity either for Scrum at Scale or Nexus or any of the others.
But Scrum is just an idea, was initially by one of the authors of Scrum saying that team delegates meet to align teams regularly. Not Scrum Masters, not product owners, but team delegates, they meet regularly to align teams between themselves. That's the whole idea. It's very simplistic.
Okay, so with the risk of misunderstanding Scrum or Scrum. So again, I'm going to answer this based on that I don't know Scrum or Scrums. So I'm going to be guessing here. So we have something called Scrum or Scrums in SAFe. And what that is an event that goes on 1, 2 times, maybe sometimes 3 times per iteration, where all the Scrum Masters together with the release train engineer, who is the chief Scrum Master of the Agile Release Train, well, they get up and they have a meeting. They have an event where they think about where are we right now, what are our impediments for the entire Agile Release Train. Can we help each other? Are there any way we can help each other get to complete our objectives? So it's a synchronization between the teams with the representatives as the Scrum Masters. So what I hear you say, it's similar to that.
Yes.
We have some other events as well. We have our product owner sync. Well, they focus really on the preparation of the features and are they going to have any workshops or anything like that? So I think we have some more events because we believe there's a higher need to do synchronization between our teams, both from where we are right now and how we're preparing for the things that's coming. I don't believe Scrum or Scrums has PI planning either, but I really don't know. I can't tell you. So I'm going to be careful answering that questions about something I don't know. I don't like that.
Okay, we have this note from Igor saying that can we please return to original topic about goals. Егор, может быть, тогда прокомментируйте все-таки, потому что у меня было подозрение, что темы близкие. Если они не близкие, то направьте нас. У нас еще целых 2,5 минуты.
Yeah, sure. Let me try. So my question was more important part for me was the second part, and well, I'm Scrum Master working in Scaled Agile Framework, and teams actually fall into this anti-pattern. They think on work items level, not like they very often refuse using iteration goals because, well, the reason is we've got PI objectives. They are our goals. For PI and why we need iteration goals. We can, in iterations, we can use simply tasks level. So what's your advice how to deal with this?
Right. Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. That helps. So first of all, you're not the only person having that problem. I've had that problem as well. I have sometimes been successful and sometimes not in persuading people. So you're not alone, first of all. The thing is, PI objectives could cover 12 weeks of work. Now that's a long time to get feedback on something. If you're starting on day 1, iteration 1, and you're using a PI objective as a goal, when are you going to get your feedback? You're going to get your feedback in 12 weeks when you're done with it. So when you have that becomes a problem. When we're working in this empirical way, where we want feedback and we want to understand, what we're committing to, we need to break that up into smaller pieces. And so what I recommend people do and what I've seen working is that I take my PI objectives and I break them into smaller pieces. Okay, we need to get to this big goal at the end of the PI. How can we get a little bit closer each iteration to that goal? And that thing is really the iteration goals. These are the small incremental steps that you take to get there. So of course, if you have iteration goals, if you have PI objectives that are only for one iteration, then I probably wouldn't use iteration goals. But if you have these big goals, which you typically have, that last a long time, you need to figure out how to get feedback faster. How do you know you're progressing towards that objective one iteration at a time. And the thing is, you don't, and you need to be doing that. So let's come with an example. Let's say you need to improve the number of subscriptions to your product by 1,000 people. And you want to do that, that's an objective, a PI objective. You will do that by the end of 12 weeks. How do you know you're doing that? So you could do it, say, okay, so in the first iteration, we're going to be working a lot on the functionality. So that's going to be our iteration goal, actually get the functionality done and get it out there. That could be iteration goal. So the iteration goal for iteration 2 could be, okay, let's get 200 customers in here. And then you work towards getting 200 customers. And the next iteration, let's get 700 customers. And then at the last iteration, let's get the whole 1,000. That way you're slowly progressing. You're seeing these wins that the team are getting. You're communicating to the business that you're progressing as you go along. So again, you have to think about this as well. The objectives are both for the team to work against, but it's also a signal to your business on how you're doing. What are you working on right now? So that's what I tend to do. You break up your objectives into smaller pieces, and they really become your iteration goals.
Thank you.
Sometimes I succeed in selling that, and sometimes I fail.
Great. Thank you, Ron. Егор, понятно более-менее? I would add to that is that that's what the story you're telling here is about getting more ownership of the people, not on specific tasks, but thinking of how to get those outcomes and what steps should the team make to get those outcomes which are specified in the PI objectives. And then you get the ownership, and team members, they start to think on the bit higher level and not just individual tasks. If I'm
think with it, so there's a reason we describe this as a business language. I mean, this is so people from the business understand it. If they don't care about it, if they don't see it, that's a problem too. The other thing is, if you don't have, and this is from experience what I've seen, if you don't have goals, what tends to happen is that the developers in the team, they pick a user story each, they develop their own user story, they commit the user story, then a tester takes it, and they test that user story, and they finish it. So the idea behind having a team is that the team works together. So having a goal that the team works together is going to help them work well together on achieving that. Otherwise, it's going to be like you say, well, you get that task, you get that task, you get that task, and then I'll meet you in 2 weeks, and then we're done. But you're never done. So iteration goals will help them. And what I usually did as Scrum Master, I was a very annoying Scrum Master. That's probably why I'm not a Scrum Master anymore. I usually take the liberty of saying, my Scrum Master, as a Scrum Master, I'm allowed to do experiments. So let's try for one PI to use iteration goals. Then we'll do a retro in the end. We'll see how it worked, and we'll take it from there. So I always taught that, Scrum Masters are allowed to do at least one experiment on behalf of the team. Let's see if you get to do that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, and then we have a very good comment. Move team to system thinking instead of silo thinking as the personal silo. That's my addition to the idea by Andre. I think it's very nice thought here.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is, well, actually, we more or less touched this, but it's put in a bit different way. So I propose we answer it maybe a bit in a shorter time. What is the size of the company from which we should start thinking of Scaled Agile Framework?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So size of company doesn't really matter. Size of the people developing your work matters. So again, back to the Agile Restrain. If you have people working together with these 50 to 125 people, 5 to 12 teams, then you consider it. But if you are 1,000 people in the company and your people delivering services is 5, don't do it. So again, start thinking about what's the essential part. The essential part is an agile release train, and that has a certain size. So I think you're right, Alexei. That is the answer to that one.
Fantastic. So, in short, I even say this in Russian. Не размер компании важен, важно, сколько людей разрабатывают наши продукты и системы, и, по сути, можем ли мы из них построить Agile Release Train, который мы обсуждали чуть выше, там, несколько вопросов назад. Вот, собственно, ответ. Great, thank you. And let me get back to this and stop the timer. And 2 more questions. Another interesting question. Cost of SAFe implementation. How do we calculate it, determine, get it, push for it, request it?
Hey guy, Phil, Volker, do we have any numbers? No, you should. Yeah, so you're gonna get the consultant.
A formula. We need to have a formula.
That's gonna be so much. No, I'll give you some guidance of what you need. So from experience, transformations. So again, how big a company we're talking about? It's really gonna be hard. What I've seen successfully work is that when you're starting up agile release trains, my preference is having one SPC to help the agile release train per 2, maybe 3 teams. And I would recommend having an SPC to help those, again, based on maturity and all these kind of things, between, I don't know, 6, 9, sometimes 12 months, depending on the maturity. Of course, you want to get some of the internal people trained up as well. But what I've seen work, 1 to 2 per 2 teams. 1 per 2 teams. It works for the SPCs. But I mean, then there's the training. There's a cost to the training as well, and that was going to be equivalent to the number of people. I mean, how many Scrum Masters are going to train? So you can put up a measure. I mean, you know what the courses cost, you know what the licenses cost. You can see how many Scrum Masters do I train, how many product owners do I train, how many teams do I train, what about leadership, all these kind of things. So you have the data available to do that, but I simply don't have a fixed figure because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, there isn't one, and the costs change over time. Like you say, it depends on the size of the organization. Initially, there's a reasonable investment, particularly if you're relying on third parties to bring that guidance in, but you're going to learn along the way. And then further down the journey, you could be operating agility at scale in a very efficient way, and then you change your focus to looking at maybe some of the strategy layers, and it's a continuous journey. How long does it go on for? So it's practically impossible to answer.
What you could do, and what we actually get a lot of requests for, maybe not in the cost area, but if your company is in some kind of segment, look for other companies, and we can help you do that as well. You can do that, Alexei, as well. Find somebody who's similar to you, maybe the same size, maybe the same business. Go and have a chat with those people. If you're not competing against each other, have a chat. What's your experience? What did you do? How did you learn this? What was your expenses for this? I think that's the best reference point we can give. Talk to some of the, 20,000 enterprises we deployed this to by now. There's plenty to choose between. So that's what you should do. Look for what others did, and then make your own calculations based on that and your company.
Yeah, and the goal isn't to train everybody, and the goal isn't to be just practicing agile. The goal is to be delivering value to your customers in a better way, and that's what you're measuring. It's not how much is this costing. What you want to be looking at is you're making an investment, and at the end of this, you want to be doing things better at a higher quality, quicker for your customers. And those are the sort of things that you can measure. And that's a completely different topic, talking about metrics.
We took that in the beginning. Actually, Phil, we had to talk about, you know, the four types of business results we typically get. So
maybe we can help the situation a bit. If, you know, in the area of uncertainty, let's find which types of uncertainty do we have. Please correct me, but my understanding is that when we talk about the cost of implementation, there are three or maybe four things. One is the training for people. The second is support, be it internal, external, it's still an investment for the support of the implementation. The next one is tooling to support this organizational change and maybe some ALM tools. And there are lots of platform partners available who do SAFe, and you can look them and see them on the Scaled Agile website. And fourth is the technical transformation, because there are some practices for around DevOps which also requires investments, and that is maybe I'm forgetting here something, but that's my idea.
You're pretty well spot on, you know. So sounds good, but you know, there isn't a fixed answer for that one.
Absolutely.
And you're not the first one asking that question.
Thank you. Well, I am asked this question a lot.
I know.
Great. Друзья, спасибо. Мне кажется, мы немножечко этот вопрос закрыли. И давайте, let's move and look at the next question. And actually, that happens to be the last question. Benchmarks for different business areas regarding SAFe. So how do we not just measure? We had this question already, but how do we measure compared to the other companies in the segment on the market? Do we have anything to compare against?
It depends what we're comparing here. So are we comparing, you know, maturity? Are we comparing? What are we comparing? What I just need to know what I need to answer here.
Друзья, let me ask, because I have a guess, but maybe the author can answer that. Efficiency. Efficiency. The term is efficiency. Efficiency of the company or of what? Because efficiency is a bit maybe okay. Money, I suppose the profit or time to market as a result of the transformation.
Right. Okay. And feel free to step in here. My guess is this is not normally something that companies tell. So we have a number of case studies at the website that will tell about this to some extent. We have a lot of case studies. Again, you can look for your industry, those kind of things. But I mean, this is typically competitive information, and certainly we don't get that. They, you know, maybe sometimes they will come and say, okay, now we can get a feature, you know, to market in 3 months instead of 12 months. So that will be in the case reports. What's probably not going to be in there is like, okay, so because of this, our revenue in the company went up 4%. I'm not sure that's in there. So, I mean, all the many case stories we have in there, I would recommend you to go and have a look at that. For the efficiency of your business, so I can try to answer this a slightly different way, because also with the introduction of SAFe 5.0 back in the end of 2019, we introduced a new way to measure our organizations in the maturity of business agility, which is really composed of a lot of different measurements. And we automated this. We made a deal with some companies so we can help you get surveys into your company to measure how efficient you are, how better you're getting at things where you're working. And all this data is then anonymized, but also uploaded, so you can actually go in and compare how your company is doing against other companies in similar industries. You know, how well are your teams doing? How well is your quality doing? So we have a standard set of questions that we use in our business agility assessment where you can go and measure up against others. It's not going to tell about revenue or time to market, but it will tell about maturity in your organization.
Just maybe to make sure that it is heard, for the people who are inside the Scaled Agile community, there is some tooling available with, as far as I know, some not just measurements but some data. Am I right? Can you comment on that?
Yeah,
agility health, like comparative agility.
Yeah. So
maybe we should say it here. Yeah.
If anybody has access to the community, there's a on the top banner, there's a section called Measure, and within there you can go into the agility assessments. They're available to anybody who has access to the community, and there are two products. One's called Agility Health, and one's called Comparative Agility. They are third-party products, but they are free to use to a certain level, and they give you the ability to compare the data that you collect around your team level agility, the maturity of the teams, all the way up through to the portfolio and anything in between. And you can compare teams with teams if you wanted to do that, or arts with arts if you wanted to do that. You can compare yourself with other organizations. If you're a finance organization, you might want to compare yourself with the rest of the world finance, or just the rest of the world. And you can compare yourself across time. So these are all available to anybody in the community. You're quite right, Alexei. The other thing that's available in the community is some of the toolkits. And there's, I think, am I right in saying, Rune, there's a measurement toolkit, metrics and measurement toolkit there? Which gives you some, which gives you some more information. So yes, you're quite right. There are tools there for anybody in the community to go and use and see if they add any value to the transformation that's taking place.
My question was that those companies you mentioned, they are providing some data on the market without additional payment if you are on the community. Is that right?
Yeah,
correct. So with comparative agility, without going into too much detail, you have, as an individual, the ability to collect the data in 50 collectors, and you can, so let's say 50, you can do 50 comparisons, and you can do all the things that I mentioned, and it's not going to cost you anything. The business model behind it is they want you to think this is great, and then you approach them and you want more from them. So yes, you're right. There's plenty to be doing there for free before you have to spend any money.
Fantastic. I think it is very important. Let me say that in Russian, because I think it does make sense to say that in Russian. Друзья, значит, по поводу измерений. У нас в Scaled Agile Framework в открытом доступе лежат возможности для измерения и готовые таблички, простые в Excel, на которые позволяют вам измерить очень многие вещи. Не буду сейчас вдаваться в детали. Вопрос был по поводу померить себя относительно рынка. Если есть компании, которые такие данные представляют, Scaled Agile имеет доступ к данным двух компаний. Если у вас есть доступ в комьюнити Scaled Agile, то у вас там сверху есть Measure, и у вас будет доступ, соответственно, к возможностям измерения с помощью платных инструментов этих компаний через комьюнити. И то, что мы сейчас обсуждали, эти компании также дают вам данные по рынку без, ну, наверное, они не все, да, но тем не менее данные по рынку, которыми можно пользоваться не только относительно того, что вы измерили там со своими коллегами, используя комьюнити. Но, естественно, бизнес-модель этих компаний, то, что вам это понравится, вы уже пойдете к ним напрямую. Это две компании, да, которые такими данными обладают и уже более полно, но, естественно, за дополнительную оплату сможете уже напрямую с ними взаимодействовать. Вот, собственно, такая модель есть. Если кому-то нужны детали, да, я, коллеги, мы доступно можем как-то это обсудить.
So we actually, I mean, we do whole webinars just on the business agility measurements. So that's another good topic to visit. We have so many of them.
How to measure business agility. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Fantastic. Друзья, По вопросу измерения какие-то еще уточняющие замечания, вопросы? Вроде бы нету. Тогда мы на самом деле закончили все наши вопросы. Наш бэклог закрыт. И, может быть, какие-то... Мы на самом деле очень хорошо отработали, мы все вопросы закрыли. Может быть, какие-то есть еще у вас короткие вопросы, которые... У нас уникальная ситуация. У нас 3 представителя Scaled Agile находятся в нашем митапе, поэтому можно сейчас, пользуясь случаем, задать какой-то короткий вопрос.
Okay, Rune, Wokera, Phil, if you have, let's imagine a situation, you need to start the PI planning like practice, but you have only 2 hours of whole developers. This usual situation, and developers can spend only 2 hours for planning in my context. What's your suggestion? What the main part of PI planning you can start in this short amount of time?
You're not gonna like my answer. Don't do that.
I know your answer actually, but let's mention we can start it. What the main thing? Forget the previous part. What the main theme of PI planning, in your opinion?
The main reason that we have PI planning is to achieve alignment between our teams so that we, as a team of teams, can commit to the plan that we have. So it's alignment and it's a commitment to the plan. And that's not going to happen in 2 hours. There's a reason that we do it for 2 days. And so the situations I heard is like, can we do PI planning in a day? And my answer is always no way, not a chance. And now you're saying 2 hours, and I'm saying, I'm just shaking my head. So I know your question. I mean, if you can only put your developers for 2 hours for PI planning, don't do SAFe. Forget about it. It's not your thing. If you're not willing to invest in what it takes, you're going to be worse off with SAFe than if you actually do some of the right stuff. You know, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah, sometimes the program asks just we have 2 hours for whole developers, and we can do pre-work, not the show at the same time. With we can do some pre-work for plan, some pre-work for risk, some pre-work for objectives, and present it in these 2 hours.
You can do that. It's just missing one important component: alignment. So if your teams are working in isolation, preparing for PI planning, finding the risks, why have PI planning? If you could
totally agree with you.
There's no reason for it. So let me ask you another question. Why can we only have them for 2 hours?
Because they're always busy.
Because they're always busy. Okay.
Yeah.
So
what is happening with your agile? People talk too much. Go and look into your monitors and do the work. Why so much talking? Why so many meetings? It is all wrong, right?
Something like this.
Something like that. You know, remember in the beginning of our webinar, when we talked about what are the success factors to getting SAFe in place? I'm going to refer to the one called get leadership on board and trained and understand why we do this. Because if you don't, these are the situations you're going to end up in. You know, of course, they're going to be busy, but you know, there's a reason we do this. There's a reason that we do it for 2 days. There's a reason that we spend time on doing alignment. It's because we're creating a plan that's better than we have ever done before. If you do it in isolation, you're not scaling. You're just having a couple of teams locked up in some rooms doing what they think is best. And then we're really back to our good old waterfall. You know, we think we know we're doing the right thing, but we don't really know. And if we're not spending time synchronizing and aligning together. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to recommend anything in that because it's going to be a crappy result. I would much rather spend my time having a good discussion with leadership about them and about how they should consider their SAFe implementation, really, because 2 hours, you can't do it. It's a no-win.
Thank you for your answer. Actually, I need your answer to show
absolutely.
My leaders and to show that that's totally impossible.
You will have a video as well, so you can play it to them.
Yeah. So Nikolai, our PI planning in Scaled Agile, because of course we're doing that. 4 days. 4 days, because we're remote, because it's hard, because we're across time zones, because we know that the time invested will give us a right plan. So,
yeah, thank you.
I understand you. I feel with you.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to my leaders and how to explain why we need the IP iteration to plan in not under pressure. And thank you for your answer.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Rune. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Wokera. And any last wrap-up messages are welcomed, please.
Oh, absolutely. Come join the SPC class. You'll get all the hidden tips and tricks on how to persuade management to do it right. I'll try.
And thanks, Alexei, for hosting this event.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Okay, thank you. Have a great evening, and hopefully see someone of you on our next Implementing SAFe class. Cheers.
Thanks, Alexei.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye-bye.